Right, morning YouTubers. It's Wednesday morning, first thing. We're on the long shift today. James is bringing some gear in. I thought, what have you got there, mate? Oh, you've broken that, haven't you? Good job, lad.
Try my best.
Right, just wang it anywhere. Right, well, I was worried about me being ready for weekend, but now I'm thinking I'm all right. I'm worried about you. You feeling confident, mate?
Loads of time. We'll be all right.
Loads of time. Love the confidence. Well, that's a brilliant window you've made there, mate. Look at that.
I can't find the conrod. I've been in there with a magnet, and
Oh, has he gone for a walk, has he?
I think he's still at Castle Combe. So if anyone's at Castle Combe soon and you find the conrod, can I have it back?
He might be stuck in the radiator, that poor angler that's behind you. Right, well, we'll get stuck into all this and see what we can work out a plan. Right, James has started pulling the head off the 1040 one that he's turned into a cutaway view engine. And we've made a plan, and that is we're going to use this block, which is breathing a bit. We're going to bore this to 73mm today. He's going to put his new pistons and his steel rods in it. And then we've got this head here, which is one he's bought recently, which is a possible goer. But ideally, we'd like to use this one because it's a better head. But we're not sure yet whether it's survived or not. Unfortunately, the cam carrier has had a bit where the valves obviously contacted the piston. So do your bit, James. Let's get the head off and see what the damage is. Is it glued on? Has someone glued it on instead of using a gasket?
Grey glue, yeah.
Yeah, it's just grey glued us together. This is Mark 1 cutback face, but not quite as much as the one I've just done.
Right, you're going to see it first.
Oh, mate. And it looks sort of intact in there. Might have a couple of bent valves. But, yeah, it looks all right. I think it might be all right, that. Stick a valve in it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll have a proper in-depth look at that now. Right, we're just on with James's engine. He's got it on the borer, so we're going to bore it to take these 73mm pistons. But I've just, because he's younger than me, I've just asked him if he'll wind the bed up because it's dead low. So a bit faster, James. I'll pull the choke out. Is it going to go? Hang on, I'll give it a bit of extra fuel. Oh, it's not going to go that, mate. You've broken that as well.
It's not got a hole in it though.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Right, I've got James's engine on the boring machine. This is called a Van Norman borer, and it's a mobile boring unit. But I would have loved to have bought a scow borer, which is basically a proper designed boring head, but I couldn't afford one of them. So this old milling machine was at the college, and it's a horizontal miller. You can just see the arbor there. Anyway, what I've done is I've basically bolted these two machines. This is my 100mm sort of boring machine, which I don't very rarely use, and this is my smaller one, which I use on the imps all the time. And just got a plate, clocked it all up, so we know we're boring straight. And it allows me to do my offset boring when I want to offset the bores, which I don't do a great deal of anymore, but I did at one stage in my engine career. So what I was going to say was this is 72.5mm. James said it's breathing a bit and it was smoking a bit, so I just thought I'd take a tiny cut just to see where we're at. And as you can see the tide mark really where the rings have stopped and just worn the bore a little bit. So it's going from 72.5 to 73, which is half a mil. So it's 20 thou. So it's 10 thou a side. And we want to leave 3.5 to 4 thou on for finish honing. So it's not a great deal to come out of this. You know, it's 5-6 thou a side, or 7-8 thou a side, sorry. And then we'll be finished. So I'm going to creep up on it gently. We're going to run clearance of around 3.5 to 4 thou. That'd be my ideal. It will be a little bit noisy when it's cold, but it does help them when they're revving, just that little bit of extra clearance. Right, I'll crack on with this now. Done our second cut now. We're taking 16 thou out in total. I've done a 10 thou on the first cut, and this is our 6 thou, so it's just a little tiny cut. Try and zoom in on it. and then we'll be able to get ready for honing. Right, moment of truth. Have I got my calculations correct and set the tool correctly to make it the correct size? Now, before I put the piston in the hole, I just wanted to say pistons are a really clever design. They're not round like you think. They're biggest on the thrust sides here, and then they shrink down towards the top, and where the ring land is can be like almost 1/2 mil down on this size here, and that's to allow for the expansion, you know, because obviously the top of the piston gets really hot. So I've used this, it's a long story, but I mean, could touch on it, but these are the tools, real clever design. That's a really fine thread. As you undo it and wind it out, the whole long thing becomes longer. So there's a stop in the back of the tool head here, and we use this micrometer type device to measure the overall length of the tool with the stop on the end of it to set the size. So if everything's right now, this should be size on size so that we can make our clearance. So we should feel some resistance as we try and drop it in. So you can see he's happy to go in, but it's size on size, which is where I wanted it to be. So we've now take out the extra material, the clearance, which will be our hone. Okay. Right, done number 1 cylinder now, done with number 2, and I thought we'll go and see what James is doing, make sure he's not skiving on his phone or something, texting his girlfriend. He does a lot of that. I think she's in control of him.
My block done yet?
What?
Is my block done yet?
Have you finished that? Have you lapped them or what? Come on, what's taking the time? That's what Bobby used to say, what's taking so long?
Yeah.
You winning?
Yeah, we're getting there now. That looks better. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, got James's block here, just finished boring it. I've just run the hone down it, and I was just going to show you this. This is a bore mic, so basically we use this to measure at various points in the cylinder to make sure it's not funnel shaped, to make sure it's parallel all the way down, because the hone is a bit of a tricky job. It tries to hit the mains, so you can't go quite as deep as you'd like, so you have to spend more time at the bottom than you do at the top to try and get a parallel bore. So put this in here and we measure it at the top, and we can see he's going to, is that clear? There you go. We're about 3,700 there, and then at the bottom we are seeing about 3,500. So he's just ever so slightly closing in as he gets to the bottom, but I'm not concerned about that because the way these liners are mounted, they're in a flange about 2 inches down. This is an old school wet liner block. So when the alley grows, because they're like quite a tight fit in the block, they will open up a bit. So it's quite cool down the bottom of there. So I have no worries about the piston picking up anything. In fact, we'll just get a piston and see how he feels. So that's nice. So just feel a tiny bit of rock. Obviously, like we discussed before, the top of the piston is considerably smaller than these parts, the thrust parts. Right, we'll get that cleaned up now so we can take it back with him to build. Right, we just worked out that James hasn't got any big end bearings for his new engine he's building, so I'm just chewing a set of mini ones up on the lathe. I basically put them in this imp rod and then face them, which I'll show you now, so they fit the imp rod perfectly. So we just face them up to onto the 0 on here, and then we've got them all the same. And they fit perfectly in the rod then. Just slightly wider the mini journal, but the journal size, 1 5/8", is the same. Right, I finished fettling my head now, so that's in the cleaning tank along with James's 1010cc engine that we bought it from 998. And then over here, what I'm doing is I like a nice spring seat. I don't like it when the valve just sits on a washer or whatever, a hardened washer to move around. So what I like to do is, these are titanium spring caps. Now these are lifed, obviously, a season's racing and they're worn out. So the life as a spring cap is ended, but because they've got a double step shoulder on, rather than making one out of steel, they're perfect for a spring platform. So all I do is run, obviously the outside diameter of my guide is 1/2 inch. So I run a 1/2 inch drill through the centre, and we end up with a spring cap that will now be a spring base, and it sits on top of the guide, holds the valve spring nice and controlled. Right, it's Wednesday, 4 o'clock. We're halfway through the job, I reckon. We're 8 hours in. James has got his new head nearly shimmed, because what we forgot to mention was that the race head off the blown up engine was bruised really badly, so it was no good. He's very kindly been and got us some bad food, so this will put me on bricks for about 2 hours, but by 6 o'clock I'll be going again, I reckon.
Yeah.
So
Any if anyone wonders why we're both slow on Sunday,
yeah, it's always
it's the diet.
it's extra weight. All them cucumber butties we've been eating, mate. Brill. Bit of an update video. It's 6:15. James is well on with shimming his new head now. Is that right, James?
Hopefully it looks something like that soon. But
Look at that t-shirt. That's belting, that. Proper cartoon. Yep, so he's on with that. I've finished fettling my head, and I've put all my 1/4 UNC helicoils in here for a bit of extra strength. And I'm just doing the fitted length now. So the fitted length is the length of the spring when it's compressed. So we know what poundage we want it to be at closed valve. It's about 50 foot-pound, and this gap between here and here is 37 mil. So what we'll do now is we'll take the spring with a cap and a spring seat on it, we'll squash it to 37 mil, and then we'll make sure we've got our 500 thou before it becomes coil bound. Okay, I've got the spring in the vise now with the inner spring as well, and both the spring base and the spring cap, because this inner spring has a higher shoulder, so it's important that we have both the seat and the cap in position before we try and do this. So it's 37 mil, which is our fitted length, and we know that because we've just put a valve in the head with a cap on it. And then what we'll do is we'll open this out. Oh, James, can you come and wind this handle for me? In fact, you can use video. Just get on this here. So what we'll do is we're going to zero this now. I'll try and hold that like that, and then we're going to go in 500 thou, which is what we need to be able to go in before we get coil bound. This is a proper Heath Robinson way of doing it. This isn't the proper way, by the way. It just works. Although you do get the occasional spring flying across the workshop. Like 505 thou, nowhere near coil bound. I could get like 30 thou between them coil springs, so that's good. And we've got about 130 psi, which is the same as last time, so that's all cool. So we'll wind this off now. We know we can build it and it won't become coil bound or whatever. Right, little explanation as to why the valve guide is in upside down. So you can see that's the taper part that would normally encroach into the port, and the reason we do this is because I don't want any of the, if we look in the port, I don't want any of the guide in the port, or very little of it, but I still want it to have the support. So by putting the guide in upside down, because I'm using the longer valve, so I've done a little demonstration here. This is a standard imp bucket with an imp valve and an imp spring. This is my longer valve with the bigger spring and the bigger follower, the bigger diameter follower. So basically we're bringing the whole thing 3/8 of an inch up. So you have to obviously get this cam carrier made, which is a nice billet one. Which is obviously, if you put it alongside this one, you'll see it's considerably, well, it's 3/8 of an inch taller basically. So it would be if I got it, there you go, you can see it there. So this acts for two reasons. So we can use the longer valve with the longer spring and the bigger diameter bucket, so we can get a decent spring in there to cope with the lift, but also it helps to shroud the bucket, so even when the bucket's on full lift, it doesn't poke out of the bottom of the carrier very much, so it's just a bit of extra support for it. So that's why I put the guides upside down in the proper race heads. Right, just getting on a bit now, and I thought I'd put the manifold on, make myself happy for a minute. So I was about to start shimming the cam up, but I put the inlet on, and that's a good run, that, innit? Straight down to the business. What do you think, James?
Is that going in my car or yours?
That's in mine, I'm afraid, mate. I need this because you're younger than me and got bigger balls. So I need this to help me keep up with you. But I don't think I'll be doing anything with my old tyres anyway. But there you go.
Excuses are coming out already.
I'm inspired now. I'm still going to try and make this run before I go home, no matter what it takes.
7 o'clock now, Wednesday night. You need to be loaded up Friday lunchtime.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
It'll
get done.
Be fine. These are James's pistons for his new 73mm block, and we just copied the compression height, which is the height between the centre of the pin and the top of the piston off his old pistons, so we know that it's all gonna trust the doorbell, all gonna go around when he gets home and builds it. He's gonna build this back at home. So I've took 30 thou off it, and I've left the middle because that's inside the squish band, so we don't have to worry about that. You'll just get a little bit more compression from there, and you might notice it's in a 3-jaw chuck, but there is actually an air gap between the jaws, and the way it works is the piston is on a drawbar, so we draw it back on a threaded bar. So, and we're just also, I think we're just gonna, James, oh, Buggerlugs is here. Can we do a little bit of a video on this while we're here?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
It's had everything, look.
It's got James the cowboy here just whacking chisels in, and oh mate, look at him with me. We pretend snap-on screwdriver trying to break it there. Hold the pressure on it, it'll just break. What bits are we going to find? Oh my goodness gracious me. What have you found? What have you found? Oh, that's what we were looking for.
That's what's broken.
Oh wow, you found it.
Oh wait, look.
That's where it started, from the stress razor in the corner.
Look at the bolts.
Yeah, well the bolts shear when the cap bursts, you see, because it's got leverage, hasn't it? But it happened in an instant because there's absolutely no temperature in any of it. Wow. Right, we'll keep, just pull this back a bit. We'll keep taking it apart, but have you got a rag there? Just clean that off for us. We'll try and do a zoom in with the camera. So this is one side. The other side may be elsewhere, but
it's in Wiltshire somewhere.
We should be able to see where the crack propagated from. I think it came from this side, and on the edge where the bearing sat was the last bit, because it's just slightly shiny. Where it's snapped and it's rubbed on that edge and snapped on the last edge. So it might have been bad for a couple of laps before it actually let go. And then just spin the engine around for us, sorry. I just wanted to see.
Which way, sorry?
So I can see inside the engine. Right, brilliant, thanks. Oh no, it was the missing piece I was interested to see. So we can see there's no heat in the pin whatsoever. It looks like if that's waggling, which it is waggling, so there was no oil starvation issues. This was purely the cap burst, next lap round, it let go, threw it all out the side. Fatigue, rubbish parts. As long as we learn from it, doesn't matter. Right, just continuing with James's autopsy on his engine, and how excited am I, James?
I've not seen you this excited since, well, I don't know when.
It probably brands about 2013 when they televised it.
Yeah.
But anyway, what we found is something that's I've never seen before in all the years of messing about with these things. But we took the sump part, and obviously, as you can see, the crank's absolutely fine. There's no heat in it. This is just a pure explosion. So I asked James to take the next piston and rod out just so we could have a look at the bearing, which he very kindly did. And it's not looking awesome, but the high compression ratio hasn't bothered it in the slightest. Piston wise, it's all coped because he kept it under control temperature wise and all the rest of it. So we've got our remainder of our cap that burst, and we actually found the big end bearing, which although it's flattened out in an absolute state, you can see there's no heat in it whatsoever. And then you can see my really expensive ARP 625 plus bolts, which are now broken, but they didn't have a chance, because if you can imagine when this burst, the leverage, it just shattered them instantly. This is the inside of the block, which is great now because I can see we can actually increase the diameter of the main oil gallery without worrying about it breaking through. So thanks for that, James.
You're welcome.
You can see there where the rods hit it on the serrated edge of the cap, and hence why it's just gone flying out the side. But the most exciting bit is this. So this is the cap number 3, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, is that one going as well? And then when I've looked at it more, I could just see a crack, and I don't know if you guys can see it. I put it in the vise to wind some pressure on it. Basically, if I wind a bit more pressure on it, you can see, you can't see on the camera. Right, how can we get this? It's just there. It starts here and it runs round. Can you point to it, James?
Yes, you can see it.
Yeah, there it is. It runs round. So this one is just starting to fail as well. So this is basically something we're gonna have to really keep an eye on, or just put steel rods in them if they're going racing, because obviously it's it's had a bit of stick when it's not gone into gear properly and buzzed itself. So it's seen some big RPM, and the stresses have just caused it to fracture. So I don't know how long that had left in it, but the crack is there to see. I will try and get some shots of it, because it's frustrating me that I can't see it on the camera. Just done with shimming the head, and James has been rooting through my old paperwork files.
Nothing to see there.
Nothing to see there. Come on, mate, let's get it out. Let's get it out. He's looking at some old timesheets. Look at the size of my head getting bigger and bigger. Where's it gone? Here we are. So we got Brands Hatch Touring Cars 2011. Wow. And time to beat on the Illman. Second fastest time of the day was, of the race, sorry, 57.98. Do you think you can do that, James?
Yeah, 55 in mine, I reckon.
No, mate, I reckon. They reckon each kid's the second a lap, so put 2 seconds on that easily for me. Plus, I was probably had bigger balls back then.
I'm keeping quiet. I'm going to upset people if I say anything.
Why?
Do you reckon you could still do that though?
Mate, I hope so. Right, mate. What's happened to your knees?
That's what you call a day's hard work. I bet Will Egley didn't go home with a pair of knees like that.
Mate, Will Egley didn't lift a spanner all day.
Hang on a minute.
But there you go.
I love the t-shirt.
He did pay.
I'm gonna pay, just not yet. There we are, the Shrigley t-shirt.
Oh, you're gonna look good in that, pal. That is worth a second.
Here we go though. £12.99. Get your Ibbotson Automotive.
Mate, don't be trying to advertise on my channel.
Oh, sorry.
Right, mate. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Take care of yourself.
I'll see you Sunday.
Good luck screwing it all together. The car looks low. You've got an A series in the back.
Yeah. Never.
Right, see you later.
See you later.
Right, James has gone. It's nice and peaceful. Got a bit of time to myself now to concentrate on what I'm doing. Just doing a bit of a dry build, so put the head on just loose with the cam carrier, because what I've got to do is choose which chain I use. Now, standard, they use an 82 link chain, but obviously because we've got the taller carrier on, we've got to use a longer chain. So this is an 84 and this one is an 83, and I'm just trying to decide what would be the best. I mean, this 83 has got a tiny bit of slop in it, but what's concerning me is when it's hot, the growth of the engine is, over the sort of 10 inches there is between the centre line. The expansion rate's quite a lot. I don't want it to go tight, so I think we're gonna have to go with the 84. But anyway, we'll get this bit done, and then I've already rough shimmed the head, so I've got an idea where I am. then we'll torque the head down with the wheel rings, etc., and do a final check on the shims, time the cam up, and then we'll get the carbs on and hopefully get a tune out of it and the sump on as well before it gets to like stupid o'clock in the morning. Oasis, Master Plan, the greatest ever B-side tune ever made by Oasis. And this is a master plan, that's why I thought it was relevant. Right, got the head bolted down now, torqued on, and I haven't done a compression ratio check properly yet. I had a rough idea of what was in the head, but I didn't do the block. I had a little bit of an intruder on the piston, so anyway, I just run out of time, so I thought, you know what, it is what it is. It's not going to be high. I predict it's going to be about between 24 and 25 cc's, which is going to give us roughly about 11.5 to 1. I thought I'd make this brave statement before I actually did it on camera. So we'll just quickly fill the number 1 chamber. Obviously we've got no cam in it, it's at TDC, so we'll fill it up and just see what we're actually getting with the head clamps on. So this is the most accurate way, believe it or not. I've done loads of messing about with, you know, bits of perspex with holes in it and grease and all the rest of it, but you can't beat just actually doing. It's ideal in it because give it a rock, get all the air bubbles out of it. I'll just check it's at TDC with this. Right, there's TDC. Okay, so we've actually got, I'd say we've got about half a cc in there. Oh my god, maybe we need about 1 cc. This is massive. It's gonna be flat as a witch's. Right, okay, so 26 and a half. I reckon we've gone about half a cc over. So if I say 26 cc's, obviously that's going to be big, that it's going to have no compression, which isn't good. Let's get the calculator fired up. So it's a 1040. Oh, that's not right. 1040 divided by 4 gives us 260 cc a pop. So it's 260 plus, did I say 26? Plus 26 equals, and then divided by 26 equals 11. Oh god, it's 11 to 1. Right, well, it's not going to be rattling its head off. So we'll be able to get a bit, we'll get some power back from a bit of advance. But yeah, that's disappointing, that is. Never mind, it is what it is. We'll continue to get it built, and I can feel myself failing. I can feel my my zest has gone to get the job done, but we're going to still try and get it done before I go home. Right chaps, it's just coming up for 1:20 in the morning, and I've got to admit defeat, I'm afraid. It's been a good day. We've made good progress. I just need to get the sump on this in the morning. Some of these bolts need chopping down on the cam cover. I can't risk using the grinder at this time of night. I'm in a residential area where the workshop is, so we're going to call it a day, clock out, go and get on charge, because otherwise I'll be scrapped tomorrow. I just last peep down the manifold, try and make myself happy before I go into bed. But yep, we will see what tomorrow brings. Hope you enjoyed the content.